Welcome. I am the Nasty Pastor. I'm back with another chapter reading, another full reading, you know, Stolen Legacy. We're gonna go and get into this. We're gonna figure, you know, how it was stolen, why it was stolen, and most of all, can we get it back? And this is part 2 of chapter 1. And please go to my YouTube channel, OFM Kemet Edition. That's my YouTube channel. You can find it Only Faith Ministries Kemet over on Facebook, over on TikTok, Tumblr. You can find the playlist. Pinterest. You can find Only Faith Ministries that will give you Revelation, Genesis, the love and respect experience, give you the teachings of Peter Hotel, give you on Isis and Osiris. Look, I ain't gonna waste too much time with the intro. What I'm gonna do is get into this part 2 of chapter 1. And like I said, hopefully, when we finish this book, this reading, we could figure out how to retrieve what was ours. Because there's a way we can get it back. You feel me? You got me? It's material things. You got me? But it's the ownership in it. You know, you can keep the precious metals. You can keep our ideas, our thoughts, our images. You got me? But see, our soul is free. You understand me? And what was done in Kemet, what was done in ancient Egypt, you have to understand this first. Karma is real. You feel me? Is real. Only thing I ask for is to bring some justice to this. Only thing I ask for is for my ancestors to be recognized for everything that they have done for this world. Everything that they have done for America. Anywho, once again, I am the Nasty Pastor, and we're gonna get into this part 2 of chapter 1. The authorship of the individual doctrine is extremely doubtful. As one attempts to read the history of Greek philosophy, one discovers a complete absence of essential information concerning the early life and training of the so-called Greek philosopher, from Thales to Aristotle. No writer or historian professes to know anything about their early education. All they tell us about them consists of a doubtful date, a place of birth, and their doctrines. But the world is left to wonder who they were and from what source they got their early education, and would naturally expect that men who rose to the position of a teacher among relatives, friends, and associates would be well known not only by them, but by the whole community. Peep this out. I'm 53. I'll be 54 this year. If you have lived, then you have a understanding that a life can be given to you. A life can be given to you. I'm not talking about, you being born. I'm talking about the I want to say excruciatements, but that's probably go over people's heads. I want to say, the material things, the titles, the titles. You know what I mean? Like, you can be put in a position of authority. You can be placed in a position of authority and don't know nothing. Know nothing about it. You're given a guide. You're given a book. You're given a list of rules that you are to study while you're placed into this title, into this position, into this way of life. You get me? So what I'm explaining to you is this right here. From what we read, we know that the Romans, you got what I'm saying? The Greeks, you got what I'm saying? They was sending people over into Upper Africa, ancient Kemet, to learn math, to learn our way of life. And then what they did, they killed these people. Aristotle, Plato, Socrates. They exiled them and they killed them. So what that mean? For centuries, they was able to teach Egyptian philosophy across the world. You understand me? Across the world. You got me? So if the powers that be, if the oppressors that be say it to these philosophers, look, I need you to do this for me. I'm going to send you over there to Africa. I need you to retrieve some information. And if you're successful in retrieving your information, I have a life for you in Europe. I do need you to teach what you're going to retrieve. So what do you think these people are going to say back in the time before Christ? Well, I believe Aristotle and them was after Christ, if I'm precise, and excuse me for burping, but if I'm precise, I believe they was after Christ, you know what I mean, or during the ages of Christ. But back then, if you tell the king, the Roman leaders, the Greek leaders, you know, the Arabics, no, you were dead. Yeah, they killed you. Understand what I'm saying? See, when them leaders come to you and ask you to do something, the answer's not no. The answer is yes. The answer is, I'm already gone. You understand me? On the contrary, men who might well be placed among the earliest teachers in history, who had grown up from childhood to manhood and had taught pupils, are represented as unknown, being without any domestic, social, or early educational traces. This is unbelievable, and yet it is a fact that the history of Greek philosophy has presented to the world a number of men whose lives it knows little or nothing about, but expects the world to accept them as the true authors of the doctrines which are alleged to be theirs. Now you understand why they was killed? Because the secret got out. You understand what I'm saying? So if it's true that the Romans and the Greeks sent them over there, somewhere the truth was found out, and instead of putting that stain on the Greek, on the Romans, on the Jews, on the Hebrews, on Europe, on that continent, they say, you know something, we can go on and kill them and clean it up. You got what I'm saying? Get rid of them, shut them up, clean it up. In the absence of essential evidence, the world hesitates to recognize them as such because the truth of this whole matter of Greek philosophy points to a very different direction. Understand me? Understand me? The book on nature entitled Periphaseos was the common name under the Greek students interested in nature study wrote. The earliest copy is said to date back to the 16th century BC, and it is customary to refer to the remnants of Periphaseos as the fragments. William Turner, History of Philosophy. We do not believe that genuine initiates produced a book on nature, since this was contrary to the rules of the Egyptian mysteries. In connection with which the philosophical schools conducted their work. Egypt was the century of the body of ancient wisdom and knowledge, religious, philosophical, and scientific, spread to other lands through student initiates. Such teachings remained for generations and centuries in the form of tradition until the conquest of Egypt by Alexander the Great and the movement of Aristotle and his school to compile Egyptian teaching and claim it as Greek philosophy. So you just got it where it said BC, right? So these, you know what I mean, they was around the time of you know, before Christ. You know, Alexander the Great conquered in Africa before Christ. You feel me? Look, I just told you I don't know the dates exact, but saying this to you and then reading it, there you go. It was before Christ's time. They had no choice to start cleaning things up. You got me? A lot was stolen. A lot was given. A lot was unearthed. You feel me? But give my ancestors their due. Consequently, as a source of authority of authorship, Peri-Phaseos is of little value if any, since history mentions only 4 names as authors of it, namely Anaximander, Heraclitus, Parmenides, Anaxagoras, and asked the world to accept their authorship of philosophy because Theophrastus, Sextus, Proclus, and Simplicius of the school of Alexandria are said to have preserved small remnants of it. If Peri-Phaseos is the criterion to the authorship of Greek philosophy, then it falls short in its purpose by a long way, since only 4 philosophers are alleged to have written this book and to have remnants of their work. According to this idea, all the other philosophers who failed to write Peri-Phaseos and to have remnants of it also failed to write Greek philosophy. This is the reductio ad absurdum to which Peri-Phaseos leads us. The schools of philosophy, Chaldean, Greek, and Persian, were part of the ancient mystery system of Egypt. They were conducted in secrecy according to the demands of the Osiarka, whose teachings became common to all the schools. In keeping with the demands of secrecy, the writings and publications of teachings were strictly forbidden, and consequently initiates who had developed satisfactorily in their training and had been advanced to the rank of master or teacher refrained from publishing the teachings of the mysteries or philosophy. Consequently, any publication of philosophy could not have come from the pen of the original philosophers themselves, but either from their close friends who knew their views, as in the case of Pythagoras and Socrates, or from interested persons who made a record of those philosophical teachings that had become popular opinion and tradition. There is no wonder then that in the absence of original authorship, history has had to resort to the strategy of accepting Aristotle's opinion as the sole authority in determining the authorship of Greek philosophy. Introduction to Alfred Weber's History of Philosophy. It is for these reasons that great doubt surrounds the so-called Greek authorship of philosophy. Well, that's the end of part 2. And I like that because, I will say this, this book has, given it up to our ancestors. You know what I mean? Has really backed the knowledge I possess of ancient Kemet, ancient Egypt, how it was given to me, how I read it, how I understood it. I'm gonna put it to you like this, right? I love this. I love the fact that this kind of come to me naturally. I love the fact that I was chosen to receive the Egyptian Book of Dead. I was chosen. You got what I'm saying? I didn't go to this Rastafarian class, ask for it. I didn't go to this Rastafarian class, kiss butt. I went to this Rastafarian class, shut my mouth and open my ears. I listened. You understand me? I made sure that if there was visible eyes watching me, they were seeing that I was studying. You understand? I was going to the library in the prison, getting what I could get. I was speaking to an elderly man that on that back wall, because I slept in the middle, on that back wall, most of them had books about America. You got me? I read a book, and I was in prison in 19, I got out in 1998. It was the 1969 8-bit. And it was the time when, what his name? Clinton was in office. All of them was president, all of them presidents up to Clinton was related, but except for 2 of them, or 3 of them, Abraham Lincoln, and I can't think of the other 2. I don't know if I would have read that book out here in these streets. You understand me? But being in that prison and trying to get to know thyself, I received that information, and that information helped me along to understand America. Anywho, once again, I am the Nasty Pastor, and I'm going to get back to you with part 3. Stay tuned. Keep yourself up. Keep fighting. Keep forging a better life for your babies. I'm out.